Hello and welcome everyone. Today we're gonna have a quick look at the new iPad Pro. I did some other video already where I unpacked the device and I gave you a short, a quick look at the device. Nevertheless, I'm working with it a few days now, and I just want to give you my personal opinion of working with the device, as well as conclusion of what people might buy this device, or if you want to buy the device, or if you can rather go with the iPad Air or anything else. Before turning on the device, or basically unlocking the device because it is turned on, I want to mention two things. First of all, I put a glass cover on the screen just to protect the screen, because for me personally it's quite a valuable device and it's quite an expensive device as well. So I rather want to protect the device, and I'm just doing this by putting this rather cheap glass cover on top of it. Just in case I'm using the Apple Pencil and I'm making some scratches on the screen, it loses some value. So I just decided to put this on the screen. On the back, compared to that one, I put the Apple silicone cover. I bought two cheaper versions, not this one, of course, not the Apple version. Nevertheless, those cheap versions didn't fit with the glass on the front because it just overlaps too much and it's just too tight. So I decided I will go for the Apple cover. Nevertheless, I think it's quite an expensive cover. Just the back is quite expensive. I'm not sure about the US dollar price, but here in Europe it's really expensive. It's €90. So if you want to calculate by the course, which is now it's around $100. Of course, it's a bit cheaper, but I didn't look it up now, so I'm sorry for that one. If you're interested, just look it up on the Apple website. You can find it under the additional stuff you can buy for the iPad, like keyboards and case and everything else. Turning on the device. There you go. It's locked for now, so I'm using the fingerprint to unlock it. I'm not using the code at the moment. There you go. It has a really, really large screen, as I said already in the first video. And the few days I was working with it now, I really enjoy the big screen, and just so much better to see something on it, and it's just so much easier to read something on it. For example, if you're reading some website or anything else, this is just like, it feels really easy to read, and you can just hold it like a book or anything else. Some people, they mention that this device is just too heavy, too big, too clumsy to work with it. Nevertheless, I don't know why those people claim it. I can work really easy with it, even longer periods of time in a row. I can just hold it with one hand, use the other hand to tap on it. I get quite big hands nevertheless, but still I would say those people, they might have shot a bit too early. It's a personal opinion. Some people say like, okay, I'm using the iPad Air, it's really light, so this is of course double the weight of it, but nevertheless, for the size of the device, it's still really light, and even with the silicone case and the glass on top, it doesn't feel any heavier or anything else, so I'm pretty happy with that one. I have the standard apps here, as well as some installed apps like Facebook and Facebook Messenger, the YouTube app, Google Maps, or anything else. I installed some game for checking the power of the device, and I have to say it's really, really powerful. Apple puts the newest hardware they got inside so far. As you might know, there is no iPad Air 3 this year, and there won't be any, of course. So they put the actual hardware here, and I have to say it runs really, really fast. There are some benchmarks out which say that this was even faster benchmarks than the MacBook Pro, some of them at least. And of course, it's way more powerful than most of the tablets on the market. There are some Surface 4 configurations which beat this one, but nevertheless, if you take a look at the price of the Surface 4, it starts around the same price. This is the most expensive version of the iPad. It's the 128 gig with the cellular, and the Surface 4 goes up to double the price. So if I pay the double amount of money, I'm expecting something faster than that, of course. However, I have to say I didn't figure any software here or any app which is not running smooth at all. The charging and load times, they are so short. It goes really fast. Everything pops up almost instantly. There is no waiting or anything else. So I'm not sure why you want even more power. I would reconsider buying this one now. Of course, if you say, well, I don't really need it, maybe you can wait a bit longer. Maybe there will be a second version coming out. However, this has for sure enough power for the next 3 or 4 years to be used. If the battery doesn't break down or whatever, you can still replace it, of course. But power-wise, it's really up to the future. Some other things I want to talk about: the reception of the device. As you can see here, it's locked onto the cellular network, and I'm just putting the iPhone inside this one now. It's the same card, it's the same contract inside, and you see the reception is almost similar. and I have to admit the reception of the iPhone is far better than some Galaxy S6 device or whatever. I always had some problems with the fast connection. Here with the iPad or the iPhone, I didn't figure any problems. Even in areas with really low reception, those devices, they work really well. And so the antenna here, which is on the back, as you might have seen on some pictures, is this white plastic thing on the top, because Allo doesn't transmit any cellular. And there are some problems with aluminum, of course, so they make this white plastic, and on the iPhone it's always the stripes on the back, as you might know, but that doesn't really matter because I have this in the case, so I don't see it anyway. Anything else I want to talk about is the sound of the iPad. I just figured I'd put some YouTube video on. I'm turning this up to full volume now, and I will be quiet for a bit. And the microphone will stay the same power, so you will see the difference, me talking to the microphone as well as the sound. And I have to say, before I'm turning on this video, the sound compared to some MacBook or anything else is really powerful and has really a lot of volume inside. So, the MacBooks, they always feel a bit, of course there isn't such big sound quality than you're turning on some proper headphones or whatever. Nevertheless, I figure some laptops or anything else should have some sound, at least for watching a movie, because they advert like watch a movie on it. So I always say like, if you want to watch a movie, then you also need some of the sound at least. So I'm just turning this one on now and going for full volume. Sorry for that. So you heard this, it's really loud. I didn't change any microphone settings or whatever. If you're watching a movie with it, of course, with those 4 speakers, there will be always one which is available. Let's say some people, they put the device on the legs or whatever, like this one, the horizontal way. Of course, it always works, but if you put it in vertical position, you might have the speakers on your legs. So there might be some problem with this one. Of course, there isn't any problem. Apple also says that depending on the position of the iPad, there will be always the lower speakers doing some more depth in the sound, and while the upper speakers, they take the height and the midtones. I couldn't figure that one yet because I'm not measuring any sound. Nevertheless, as you could have heard, the sound quality is really, really good. What device might be the right one for you? I have to say this one is rather a productive device. So, for example, if you want to surf the internet or play some games and maybe also watch a movie in the evening in the bed or whatever, I advise you rather go for the iPad Air 2 or the iPad Air, even depending on the power you need. Because this one, for the price tag it has, you really need to use this every day and not just in the evening for browsing the web or playing a game. Of course, it's really nice to play a game on the big screen, also watch a movie on the big screen, but for me it's rather useful because I'm using this for presentations when I go for my customers and I have to present them some video or some pictures. I'm taking this tablet PC instead of a MacBook Pro, which I used before because the iPad Air was just too small for doing this, and it just doesn't feel proper enough to watch some pictures on it because, as I said, it's just too small. This screen is so much larger and it gives you so much more of an impression. The colors are really, really rigid and everything. So this is definitely the choice if you are like productive or you are some artist or some photographer and you want to show some pictures. This is a nice device to go for. Unfortunately, I couldn't test the Apple Pencil yet because the Apple Pencil is just not delivered. It should be here tomorrow, and I'm going to test this as well. I tried some apps already which are supposed to work with the Apple Pencil. I will reinstall them tomorrow and test them out, and I will do another video of that one. So hopefully it will convince me even more. Nevertheless, to me, I'm already convinced of buying this device, and I didn't regret not going for the iPad Air 2. The iPad Air 2 might have enough hardware even for me, but personally for me, I like really big screen devices for productivity, as I mentioned before, for the reasons. I didn't feel any need for going for the small device. I'm having an iPad Air 1 in use still, and probably I'm going to sell it, I'm not sure yet. But it just, if you have an iPad Air and you use this once, you don't want to go back for the iPad Air. And the iPad Air is just so small compared to this one, and you have to get used to this one, of course, because of the size. But if you're used to this once, it's just an awesome device, I have to say. I don't regret any point of it. There is no such thing I can say like, well, this is not good or this is not good. Of course, it's an expensive device, as I said before. The price tag compared to the iPad Air 2 is really, really high. But also you have to reconsider the hardware Apple puts there, and if there will be a new iPad Air this year, I'm not sure about the price tag that one would have gotten. So I'm pretty happy with that device, or really happy with the device. Not pretty happy is the wrong word. And I'm gonna be even happier with using the pen, hopefully. I still have to figure out where to put it. It's quite an expensive device to lose. There is no point or no thing you can put the Apple Pencil on. So I have to use a bag probably. But yeah, well, I will figure that out. One thing, first of all, if you have some questions concerning the video or the device itself, please feel free to leave a comment. Otherwise, if you like the video, please subscribe to my channel, and see you soon.